On this episode, we talk about Hell in a Cell, Alberto Del Rio returning to the WWE, our impressions on WWE 2K16, Tyler Breeze on the main roster, your questions, and tons more right now on Byte That. Hey gang, what's going on? You are listening to episode 114 of Byte That's weekly wrestling podcast, the place where we break down Hell in a Cell, Raw, WWE 2K16, and so much good stuff happening in the world of wrestling. So thanks for tuning in and checking out the show. Remember, we are available every single Tuesday night on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, ByteThat.com, and of course for this and tons more, including a crazy amount of 2K16 coverage, head on over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ByteThatCast. Crazy indeed. Juan Villas is my name. San Juan, Puerto Rico is my location. And these two gentlemen with me, Ryan McNulty from Boston, Massachusetts, and Keith Mackenzie Poshik from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. You two are human beings. How are you?
I just want to take a moment to say
that you hate me.
I hate it so much when you say my middle name. I hate
that
it.
Is your real middle name? That is your real middle name?
It is my real middle name.
And here I always thought it was a joke.
Nope. The story is that if I came out a girl, my name would be Mackenzie. So my parents, being the loving people that they are, just said, screw it, make it his middle name. That way he has one. And
11 years in the making, Ryan, and you now know the real story about Keith.
Wow. Well, you know, I had a pretty good week. And what was 6 months in the making for me, I finally hit Legend in Hearthstone. I had to.
I was going to say you finally got laid.
I had to brag about that.
You were working hard on that.
Quite a
I
journey.
know that.
Yes, I was playing a lot of games. Finally found something that worked out. And it was pretty awesome, so I was happy to do that.
Well, congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. So, a lot to talk about. We just got done streaming a ton of 2K16, so maybe the energy levels are a little bit low, but we have Hell in a Cell that we first got to talk about. Two major Hell in a Cell matches. We got blood in there, rumors about things going on backstage, who's upset, who's not, overall impressions before moving on to Raw. What did you guys think of Hell in a Cell?
I thought Hell in a Cell was definitely the best pay-per-view in a while. No screwy finishes or anything like that. Just a nice, clean, fun pay-per-view. So I really enjoyed it.
Agreed. The thing I liked about Hell in the Cell the most was the variety on that show. There were so many different types of matches, and not like, there's a Hell in a Cell and a singles match, but you had your normal, hey, this is a championship match. The heel champion's going to play the whole championship advantage rule. You had your all-out brawls. You had your crazy spot fest matches. It was a really good all-around pay-per-view.
Before we get to the matches most people are curious about, I want to cover the Divas match, even for just a couple of minutes, because I thought it was actually one of the best matches in the card. I agree. Yeah,
absolutely.
I think Nikki and Charlotte did an excellent job. If anything, I think they were way better than even matches like the ones that involved Kevin Owens and Ryback, and I was really thrilled with that match.
Well, it didn't take a lot to beat Kevin Owens and Ryback.
Yeah.
That just
not
didn't
exactly
work.
Their shining performance.
Yeah, I just don't think they quite have chemistry. But no, Nikki and Charlotte put on a hell of a match. I mean, that Alabama Slam was that's some Kevin Owens stuff right there. That put Sami Zayn out for months, and we see, or weeks at least, and we see Charlotte coming back the next night. So
no kidding.
A little bit of kayfabe miscommunication there, but no, still an awesome match, and Nikki really brought it, more so than I think a lot of people would give her credit for.
When it comes to the tag team match between the New Day and the Dudley Boys, something was off. I think ever since that botch that happened, there was at one point where a light drop happened and it just didn't work all right. But the crowd in that match and in a couple of matches overall, I think even though you like the show, Ryan, to me, I think the crowd sort of sucked some of that out for me because they seem fairly just quiet, or I don't know what the word would be. Do you guys feel like that?
I wasn't to be honest, I wasn't paying a whole heck of a lot of attention to the crowd. I thought most of the matches were fine. That miscommunication with the Dudley Boys, which is weird because you would expect these guys know each other so well that you're rarely going to see something like that where they straight up, like Devon straight up doesn't know the move that he's supposed to be going for, which is, it's just really weird to think that could happen. But, you know, things always happen.
It's just one of those weird things that happens in something like wrestling where you talk about how there's this prestigious tag team. They're going for their 10th WWE tag team championship, but they can still fumble in the ring. But even beyond that match, or like you said, Ryan, I didn't really pay attention to the crowd too much in that event. I've kind of distanced myself from that whole, oh, the crowd's good, the crowd's that, just because, you know, being burned before. But I am a giant fan of how the New Day, I have a theory that they just sit down and figure out how many different ways can we work a trombone into their match. I'm very impressed by that.
Yeah, Big E keeps being great.
I was going to say the only complaint about that, and just completely nitpicking, because I still like that the heels actually kind of cheated to win, was that the trombone just, you know, normally we're used to in wrestling, when they're getting hit with an object, it's like a loud sound and it feels like it's effective. But when he got hit with the trombone, it really felt like he was just throwing it was like he was throwing a paper trombone at him. Like it didn't seem like it was this devastating hit or anything like that.
Yeah.
Seth Rollins versus Kane. I will say that I enjoyed that match more than maybe a good portion of the Hell in a Cells, in the way that I had no expectations that I would care about this match. And we talked about this. It's like, okay, cool. The whole concept is that you beat Kane, so at least you have a clean win over somebody. But I found myself surprised at just how involved I was in the match. Did you guys feel like that? Or was the match exactly what you thought you were going to get?
I think it definitely exceeded expectations. It was, you know, not match of the night or anything like that, but I thought it was just a solid match.
Agreed. It was a very solid championship match. Kane proved that he could still go, and it was pretty much exactly everything it needed to be. You didn't really expect it to be like, oh, this big upset or anything like that, but it was a good performance.
Okay, so throwing it to you guys, which one do you want to talk about first? Bray Wyatt, Roman Reigns, or The Undertaker, Brock Lesnar?
Let's go Wyatt Reigns.
Let's do it.
Agreed.
Okay, so going into this match, we knew who was going to win. That was never a factor. That was never a concern that we had. That being said, I think the match was also something that we thought we were going to get a very vicious match, and we did. We got the "That is awesome" chant, which honestly, to me, that does nothing to me at this point, because almost anything gets that chant.
Yeah.
The day that the Shield and the Wyatts entered the ring, and that got a "That is awesome" chant, that was the day it died.
Hashtag low standards.
I don't quite think that was the moment. I mean, everyone has their opinion, but regardless, that chant is so played out that it doesn't really mean anything anymore. Nevertheless, this was a pretty damn good Hell in a Cell match. You know, they did what they could within the PG limitations. Bray Wyatt was pretty inventive with the weapons, kind of like lodging them into the cage and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They had several cool table spots. I think we got 3 table spots in this match.
Yeah, we had the spear, the
spear, there was
Uranagi.
the half Nelson slam, and there was one in the ring that I can't quite remember. It was the power bomb, right? It was the power bomb.
Yeah. So tell me if this happened with you guys, because this was a thing that I just saw it once and I could never unsee it. Did you guys notice those big foot-sized holes in the side of the cell?
Yeah.
And it frustrated and bothered me the entire match. Like, I can't unsee these holes.
Now, a note about that. The moment the show started, Nicole and I watched it with some friends over at their house. And the moment we saw that, all of us pointed the holes out. And the whole night, it was like, who's going to go up there? You know, who's going to be the one to climb up top? It's like, oh, one Hell in a Cell match is down. So is Brock going to climb? What's going to happen? Does anybody know why those holes were there? Is there a
They've
production
been there
reason?
forever. I don't know what's new about that.
It's the first time I noticed them, though.
Like
they've
that
been
badly,
there. They were
in
there,
one side.
They've been there forever.
My assumption would be, and I have no knowledge, like hard definitive knowledge about this, would be that it is a production thing now that this cell is bigger and they kind of have that middle joining piece. My assumption would be is that it helps connect the cell together. It helps the production
also have
team
it there
get
in case people want to climb it. I mean, if you think to the past several years, people have climbed the cell. Like, I think the last 3 Hell in a Cell pay-per-views have had people climb to the top. So
See,
it
I
makes
was just
sense
disappointed
there.
because I was expecting an F5 off the cell through the announcer table.
Oh, yeah.
And we didn't get
Your
it.
expectations were totally in check then.
Yeah, but so what do you guys think about that match? Another situation where we sort of saw where it was going to go. And The Undertaker definitely looked like the weaker guy. And I think that is the complete character. That is all that is happening. We got the things with Bray Wyatt. So not just the match outcome, but just the whole thing between what happened at Hell in a Cell and Raw involving Bray Wyatt, Kane. Pile that up into just, do you care about it, not, or why?
Well, I think I should start off by saying that The Undertaker is alive after that match, so we
Good
should
job,
just
yes.
be...
Yes.
We got to be happy there.
He made it. Oh, thank you. But as far as the match goes, I think that's what an Undertaker match should be. Like, even the last few WrestleMania matches, like he had against Triple H and stuff, they were all no disqualification matches, because an Undertaker match shouldn't be this, like, normal technical match anymore, because he can't really do that for very long. But to mention after the match, I think it's cool if it ends up with Bray Wyatt on top. If it's just going to be another repeat of the whole WrestleMania situation, then I'm left questioning why.
Yeah, this match was so much better than the SummerSlam match, in my opinion. Like, I've said all this stuff, like, Undertaker's done, he needs to stop. And while I still think the man doesn't need to keep doing this and probably should have retired like a year ago, I think he was, just his performance was so much better. And I don't know if that's a combination of it being a Hell in a Cell and they can kind of mask.
I think it's because they could go outside the means of a conventional wrestling match, right?
Yeah, so it makes it looks like Undertaker can do more. But also the fact that he has been working house shows, so maybe he's just been getting in better ring shape and he doesn't seem as tired. Because the SummerSlam match, he just looked like an exhausted old man trying to get through a match. Where, like, I didn't feel that nearly as much in this match. It seemed like he was getting to, each spot without seeming like he was basically on his last, breath trying to make it. Like, he actually looked like he could hang. Granted, Brock Lesnar always has to slow himself down when he's against The Undertaker, but, like, overall, I thought it was great, and there was some blood in it, which is controversial. A lot of blood.
A couple of headshots, too.
Yeah. I know. Brock straight up went for, like, a head chair shot, and Undertaker had to put his hands up to stop him.
Yeah, that was funny, how there was that awkward pause of, wait, you're actually doing that. No, you don't do that. Yeah. Undertaker was trying to sell it, but at the same time, the chair was nowhere near his head. So Brock is a crazy individual. Crazy. And
yeah,
I want
sometimes feel like he's not respecting any of the rules of WWE. He's just doing whatever he wants out there. Like, he thinks it's for real, and everybody else is just trying to work a match.
Does he know that wrestling is scripted? So, like, The Undertaker is actually this old man. He's not actually a dead man.
I don't know.
News to me.
We gotta research this. Last tidbit I want to point out here. What you mentioned, Keith, I think the reason that a lot of people like this match a lot more than the SummerSlam one is because you can have setups. Like, just simply when Brock Lesnar tore some of the ring, you're thinking to yourself, oh, what's going to happen now? There's the curiosity. There's, all the thoughts about possibilities that could happen. When it's just a one-on-one match, and you know what kind of character Brock Lesnar is, and you know the physical condition that Taker has, you don't really have that. So Taker can build something up, like when you grab a chair, what's going to happen here? So I really enjoyed the match. I am curious to see what's going to happen with Bray Wyatt, but how many times have I said that exact same sentence in this podcast? So I know we usually jump ship and just go to the conclusion. But for me, it's always just like the whole reason Bray Wyatt even did the whole thing with The Undertaker where he carried him out at the end. He lost the match earlier. All right, man, just Taker, what are we doing tomorrow? It just feels like they keep going, they keep doing something, and it's like, cool, but can you have him win like once? And, good times.
It just lacks payoff. Ever since 2 WrestleManias ago, Bray Wyatt has not gotten a single major payoff. Now, if this is them making up for what happened with WrestleMania, like I mentioned, then so be it. I think it's a great thing. But, they're hyping Survivor Series around The Undertaker and how it's 25 years of the dead man. So it makes me hesitant to believe that that's going to be the case.
And wait to spoil the fact that he was going to be at Survivor Series. Before we even have his match, we're going to celebrate him, so
they did the same thing for Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep in mind that we didn't even get a formal announcement about that. We got it in a promo during the last pay-per-view.
Okay. So we've covered the majority of the matches. Last one left, U.S. Open Challenge. The kickoff match for the show. I thought it was going to be Samoa Joe or James Storm. I was a little way
Tyler
off.
Breeze.
Yeah, or Tyler Breeze was my primary pick, but once he went on to SmackDown, which we'll get to in a couple minutes, I thought, okay, Samoa Joe has got to be the next option because I don't see anything else. He's sort of feuding with Breeze in NXT. It kind of works. Alberto Del Rio is back. Reactions.
I loved it. I thought it was great because first of all, if somebody's out there that can prove me wrong on this, please do, and I will shout you out. But if one person said in their prediction that Zeb Coulter would come out and announce Alberto Del Rio,
eat your heart out, Trump.
You should go buy a lottery ticket, whoever you are out there, because that is incredible. Yeah, but Del Rio's back. Never saw that coming a mile away. The match was what it was, but the whole shock factor I thought was really great.
I'm a little bit...
And Zeb Coulter's back.
Yeah, I'm a little, conflicted on this because, I like Del Rio and I'm glad that he's back. And I had heard rumors that he might be re-signing, but never expected him to show up for the Open Challenge. The Zeb Coulter-Del Rio pairing frustrates me a lot because...
Why?
Because on Raw, they tried to explain it, and it was the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Zeb Coulter's just it's not about borders and all this anymore. It's about having one nation, Mexico and America. And it just goes against everything Zeb Coulter was talking about, for the past year and a half when he was around.
Cried a little bit.
What?
Yeah.
A Swagger should have cried a little bit.
No, but it's just it's better off if he was just you know what? We may not agree on everything, but he's a fierce competitor or something. But they tried to explain it and it just made it even more nonsensical. My other issue is, besides the fact that the match seemed like Cena kind of phoned it in, I don't know. That's just my opinion. Granted, the guy's leaving, whatever. It was just surprising how quickly it ended. But anyway.
Yeah, it was a normal
he just was
Raw
gone
match.
it was one finisher-esque move, boom, done. Granted, he can't tap out to the cross arm breaker, so I guess the super kick has to do. But my issue was that this U.S. title thing has been built up for so long, and it would have been nice for a younger guy to kind of get the push from that. Instead of Del Rio, a guy he's a multi-time world champion. He's won, I believe he's won the mid-card titles too. Has he been Intercontinental champion? Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe he's just been world champion and WWE champion. But either way, the guy's been at least a semi-main eventer. And this U.S. challenge has been going on since WrestleMania, and we're all talking about who's going to be the guy that beats him. And this was just super anticlimactic, is all I'm saying.
That is very true. That's a very good point. But as a quick side note, how kind of sad did it seem when Michael Cole was trying to grab straws and talk about the great feud between Alberto Del Rio and John Cena? They had a last man standing match for the title and stuff like that. It came off as really desperate. But Yes. As cool as the shock factor was, I have to agree with you, Ryan, that it would have been nice to see a younger guy beat John Cena, because it almost feels like all these months of the Open Challenge were for nothing at the end of the day.
And I just don't know how I feel about Alberto Del Rio being back. I was never a huge fan of his character. I think as a wrestler, he's pretty cool. The couple of matches that I saw outside of the WWE after he left, I should say, were really cool. But coming back here, like, what can we really expect? Let's be honest here. Alberto Del Rio, whenever he was on top, we never cared about him. It was the equivalent of Sheamus. He was in that category. And then you have him come back, and this whole U.S. Open Challenge thing, where every time we're thinking, even if John Cena wins, we care about the guy who he's facing and care about the match and the outcome. You have this guy come out there who for a long time has had the issue of connecting with people, poke fun of Cesaro all you want right now, and then you have him beat John Cena as a nobody. John Cena lost like he was Heath Slater. Let's be really honest here. So then afterwards is, can you not conclude at least one thing properly? We talked about this seemingly forever in the show, where it's like, because it never ends, it can never have a conclusion, a feud or something. But even this, we even poke fun, like, wouldn't it be great if we got a John Cena US Open Challenge DVD and had like this beginning and this end? But just look at the way this happened. I don't like it. We're probably going to forget it because this is the way that
does
things
Del Rio
happen.
feel like a superstar right now? Does he feel like...
No.
You know what I mean?
Nope.
Whereas
feels like a mid-card title.
Like, let's say Cesaro came in there because he's just the go-to, this guy needs a push example. I'm not even saying it should be him. But if someone like Cesaro or Neville beat Cena last night, it would be a huge deal. But because Del Rio, like, he just kind of comes in and beats him, it's like, whatever.
Yeah.
Exactly. We got to keep in mind, and then we'll move on. Forget about the fact that it was Del Rio. Somebody came back unexpected and beat Cena. So you can put a lot of people into that category, and people would react because they didn't expect that. It's not the same as somebody that maybe you think would be in the match but wouldn't win, but then won. At least you have that curiosity or something. But moving on to something that I know you should be pretty happy about, Ryan.
Yes.
Number one contenders.
Number one contender.
Number one contender. Number one contender?
Number one contender?
Number two contender?
Number one contender.
Number one contender.
Number one, not number two. No, okay, so for the longest time, you've complained about how WWE doesn't do number one contender matches,
Number one
and people
contender?
seemingly number one contender, not three
Number
or
one
two
contender.
or four. Yeah, your thoughts, Ryan? This happened on Raw, the number one contender spot.
This first of all, this is a great episode of Monday Night Raw, which it feels good to say that because it's been a very, very
You
long
enjoyed it?
time. Yes.
How
Okay,
beaten
get this.
and broken
get
down
this,
are
guys.
we?
Hold on. Just listen to
I'm
this.
listening.
Because this is going to be like magic to your ears, okay?
You've got my ear holes.
So the Authority comes out. All right, so that's not magic to your ears. But, okay, let me continue.
Go on.
Okay, but they say everyone who won, or at least people who won at Hell in a Cell, are put into matches, and the winners of those matches go into a fatal four-way to determine the number one contender for Seth Rollins' WWE World Heavyweight Championship at Survivor Series. So get this, people who won at Hell in a Cell are rewarded, and thus the winners of those matches, and then they win the next fatal four-way match, are a number one contender. Meaning
This is sickening.
Matches on Raw,
They matter.
many of them
They matter.
had consequences, actually mattered. And thus,
It's a crazy
I
concept.
was more invested in said matches throughout the show and kept my interest in the show.
So having said that, are you happy with the conclusion of everything that happened on Raw regarding the number one contender?
Number one contender?
Number one contender.
Yeah, I mean, look, we all knew it was probably going to be Roman Reigns. When the Fatal 4-Way came down to Ziggler, Del Rio, Kevin Owens, and Roman Reigns, they're not going to do heel versus heel, so Del Rio and Kevin Owens are out. And let's be real, Survivor Series is not going to be main evented by Seth Rollins versus Dolph Ziggler, as great of a match as it would be. So it was very obvious that Reigns was going to win, but I think it's about the journey and not the destination a lot of times. And because they made it in an exciting way, sure, it's still obvious, it was fun. And that Fatal 4-Way to end the night was awesome. One of the best matches on Raw in a while. That Fatal 4-Way
was a hell of a match.
Yes, it was super exciting.
Those very suspenseful spots that just like, you think this is what's going to happen, then they change the blink of the eye. The example that comes to mind is the pop-up powerbomb into Superman punch.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Those things are just freaking awesome.
Exactly, and even if it's obvious, even if it's like super obvious who's going to win, if the match is good and exciting enough and there are consequences, there's still going to be those moments where you almost believe somebody else can win it, and that makes it fun enough.
Agreed.
And the one example, I always love to bring up odd things. When you watch a movie, Taken, Liam Neeson, any of them, you know how the movie's going to end. Like, that's never a question. Somebody is going to get
romantic
kidnapped.
Comedies, they sell. I don't know why, but they do.
Like, all of these movies.
I recently watched The Intern with Anne Hathaway and Robert De Niro, and that is a mighty fine, good movie. So you do not talk smack about rom-coms, sir.
Oh, you even call them by the
abbreviated
cool term.
name.
Yeah. Look at you, man.
I still have to see Trainwreck, actually.
So do I. I'm actually looking very forward to that.
So, what were we talking about? What was the point now?
Consequences or predictable things.
Yeah. So, predictable things. So, I think, and I know it may seem ironic or hypocritical at some points because we complain.
I don't know. I haven't heard what you're going to say yet.
Because, okay, bringing it back. I complain about, U.S. Open Challenge doesn't have closure, but then it keeps going. Ironically enough, in movies and all these things, you know how it's going to conclude, but we never see that there. But I think what's happening right now between Rollins, between Reigns, we're seeing Roman Reigns' path from the guy that was supposed to win at WrestleMania and then maybe got the short end of the stick because he wasn't ready or any of that. He can conclude with a title victory much like the one that Dana Bryan had. And I know it's a weird example, but consider when Dana Bryan won, we had that conclusive victory. And sadly, it all sort of went downhill back then. But with Roman Reigns, we can emulate that to a point and actually see what's going to happen afterwards, whether it's good or not. But you can say it was the guy that was doomed to fail by the fans. And look, they're supporting him slowly. And there's still the haters out there, but there's always going to be haters.
And I think that's the most important part, where we're at a point where we can feel good about, Roman Reigns is going to become champion, and I think it's going to be a good thing. Like, I personally think that Roman winning the title, whether it be at Survivor Series or WrestleMania or whenever he wins it, like, at this point, I am completely okay with it, and I think it'll be a good decision. And Roman has, let's say, for lack of a better word, paid those dues on the main roster that were lacking leading up to WrestleMania. So
100%. I mean, there's no question now that he has established himself as a singles wrestler now, when that was very much a question mark going into WrestleMania. So, I mean, the guy has been on fire. I don't think, as early prediction, I don't think Survivor Series is going to be the time that he wins it, and which can only be good because it'll actually make people want it more when it eventually does happen.
So, talking about Roman Reigns' opponent at Hell in a Cell, we mentioned Bray Wyatt, we mentioned the Undertaker thing.
Quick thing I kind of want to just talk about is a lot of people on the internets are kind of talking about the recent irrelevancy of Dean Ambrose, where he's just kind of become Roman Reigns' cheerleader. And I kind of wanted to think, or kind of bring it to you guys, is the inevitable Dean Ambrose heel turn like just a matter of like when and not if?
I think Dean Ambrose is the wild card that would be triggered based on how people react to Roman Reigns. If people support Roman Reigns, great. He becomes champion, happy ending. If things aren't working the way they intend to, they can pull that card. Oh, guess who turned on his best friend? He's with Rollins now. Or he can turn on both because he's unstable. So I think the reason that we're not seeing him right now is because the WWE doesn't really know what to do with him. They want to do something with him because you don't just open up a Raw with a guy and then just do nothing with the guy. It's just a matter of what and when.
It's almost like an extension of the situation when when there was all those rumors of the Shield breaking up, right? Where Dean Ambrose can turn on Roman Reigns at any time. That's like a kill switch, an interesting kill switch that the WWE has at their disposal. It's just a question of when is that going to happen. And the fact that maybe it's going to happen in a couple of months, a couple of weeks, and maybe Dean Ambrose might seem irrelevant during that time. But the second it happens, that conversation will end immediately.
Yeah, and I guess you also got to keep in mind, now that I'm thinking of it, was he was supposed to be in a match at Hell in a Cell, but then the whole Randy Orton thing happened, and they kind of had to cut the match. So it kind of makes sense that he wasn't really in the story the past 2 weeks because his match got cut. So I'm sure they'll have something for him going into Survivor Series.
So last tidbit I want to bring up here. Tyler Breeze showed up on SmackDown. Last week we were talking about the rumors that he may be getting called up. We saw the pictures, showed up on Raw. It's still super weird to see Tyler Breeze in the main roster. It's like when Neville got called up. It's like your best friend moving up. You're super happy about that. He's feuding with Dolph Ziggler. He's involved with Summer Rae. They're giving him his own thing. He didn't just show up. It's not like, hey, you're on the main roster wrestling. Do you like that transition that they're having to develop the character?
I think it's a great thing, because if you just had Tyler Breeze debut as just normal Joe Schmo without all the whole selfie cam and even the VIP section, I think Tyler Breeze would have fell flat instantly. Now, that being said, while I am excited to see Tyler Breeze on the main roster, I am still skeptical because greater men have fallen to the mediocrity of the mid-card.
That was deep.
Yeah. The first thing about Tyler Breeze's debut was I heard it was on SmackDown, and I'm like, really? Like, SmackDown? Come on, like, we all expected more. But then, you know what? Damn it, if I didn't tune into SmackDown just to see his segment.
Same.
Like, I didn't watch any of the rest of SmackDown, but you know what? WWE got me to turn on SmackDown on a Thursday night when I normally wouldn't.
Puppet. Dance.
So, yeah, they hooked me in, so I got to give them credit for that. It's an obvious fit to have him feud with Ziggler. They just kind of both have that, like, pretty boy, ladies man type of gimmick to them, except one's face, one's heel, and the whole Summer Rae thing. It works, and it almost like it's funny how Summer Rae is actually quite a bit taller than Tyler Breeze.
Oh, by a
but that
considerable margin.
That just makes it better as a heel, because he looks like this little like smarmy guy that you want to see get beat.
Yeah, I think he's gonna have a great 2-3 months in the main roster. What's going to happen afterwards, it's really just up to, I don't know who at this point, because that type of character we know just doesn't work long term. But I want to be hopeful. I want to be positive. I'm happy he's in the main roster and he's in 2K16, which, by the way, if you go right now over to our YouTube channel, getting to some announcements, you will be seeing some videos related to my career in WWE 2K16, 2K Showcase mode. We've been streaming a lot. So Keith and mine's voices may be a little bit worn out right now. It's because we've been playing nonstop.
My soul is worn out.
Yeah. Well, Bret Hart's been kicking your butt for quite a while, man. Sorry about that.
Oh, he is the excellence of execution. I learned that the hard way recently.
Indeed he is. So, yeah, make sure to follow us, twitch.tv/ByteThat. That is where you can come hang out. We're talking some wrestling, playing 2K16 consistently. And, join part of that family. This week, Fight Night does continue. We'll be having some things related to the VHS tape that I received by an evil mailman. We're going to get to see the contents of that. I'm curious to see what's going to be in there. I mean, I kind of know because I edited the video and then it's up on the channel, but...
Don't break kayfabe.
Sorry. I got excited there quickly. Now, Mr. McNulty, you and I had a video.
Yes,
that went up.
You guys had a video.
Yeah,
we can keep going. We don't have to talk about this.
Let's. I think people want to know what's about to happen here. So, what happened was the 2K14 WWE online servers are about to go down pretty soon. So Ryan and I had a very friendly competition of a best of 5, with the stipulation be that the loser has to sing a theme song selected by the winner. And guess who won? It's me. And Ryan thought he was gonna win. And thanks to Keith, thanks to Keith, because Keith came up with the rules. You can check this all, the full video's up on the channel. So next week, I will be announcing.
Made it a wild card for a reason, baby.
Yeah, and it worked. Thank you, man. So next week, right here on the podcast, I will announce the theme song that Ryan has to sing. Over on YouTube, people have been recommending, so you can send us an email, send us a tweet at ByteThatCast. I've been singing a total of 3 songs with John Cena's theme, Stevie Richards' theme, the CM Punk Let Him Go. Ryan, get them vocal cords ready. It's going to be a good one.
And as a quick side note, I highly recommend you guys go watch this video, because they may have had the greatest table match in WWE 2K14 history. Oh my god. Looking back, I really should have made you do random on the table, not thinking like, oh, if I can give someone with crappy moves that they can't put you through a table. And that's who I got in my random. So see, that's what's great about the wild card. Man. It's all about strategy, baby.
Yeah, so bask in the ambience of defeat, Mr. McNulty. So before we get to everybody's questions, we played, at least Keith and myself, Ryan will be playing very soon, 2K16.
That we did.
Yeah, up until this point, reviews are actually not out. They're out tomorrow, which is very weird for reviews.
I don't know why they don't give out like an editor's copy or something, or reviewer's copy. I'm sorry.
They got review copies, but they're only allowed to post the review the day after the game came out. Now,
oh, so it's an embargo thing.
Yeah, it's an embargo thing. So everything's going up tomorrow. I just got to say right off the bat, I love the game. I really do. I enjoy it. I've spoken multiple times here on the podcast. I was not a fan of 2K15. I got it when it was on sale for like $20 to $30. And even then, I played for about an hour and I got tired of it. The moment I picked up 2K16, I could feel that it was drastically different from 2K14, but I liked it. Because otherwise, I would just go play 2K14. But it felt like a real wrestling game. I've been playing the My Career mode, and it is essentially WWE the RPG. You level up certain things, you get points, you gain abilities, but you get to choose. So it's not like, well, you won 5 matches, you unlock this. You get the points, and you spend them based on whatever you want. You can go all the way from Performance Center to Hall of Fame. And it's not like it happens overnight.
Hall of Fame.
Ooh, ooh. So I've been playing in like over 6 hours, and I'm still in NXT, and I like that. I feel like I have a legitimate story mode that I can just hang out, play, and even a lot of people that have been hanging out in the stream that were speaking negatively of the game, their first reaction was, oh, I got to get a copy of this. So Keith, what's your impression? You've had a little bit less time to play. You've been playing the showcase mode.
Yeah, you know, Juan, I was a lot like you with 2K15. I picked it up on a sale, played it for a couple hours, but I wasn't a big fan of it. I thought it felt weird, but 2K16, so far, I am pleasantly surprised, especially from a gameplay perspective. There's a couple changes that I'm not exactly used to yet, like the submission system I find to be a little bit off, but I don't know it enough to understand if that's me or the game at this point. So I'm going to look into that a little more. But one big change that they made this year that I'm a huge fan of is the reversal system. When we first heard about it, we heard that you're only going to get a limited amount of reversals at a time. So once you reverse a move, it takes away from your bank of reversals, and you got to wait for a bit for it to recharge. I thought that sounded like the worst thing ever when I first heard it, but it actually turned out to be really cool. It adds a whole new element of strategy to a match that just straight up wasn't there before. Because you have to think to yourself, am I going to reverse this move? Is this move even worth reversing with what kind of damage it does? It adds a whole new element to the game and makes it feel way more strategic. I thought it was a big change. Now, I've spent my time playing the 2K Showcase mode, which was featuring Stone Cold Steve Austin's career. And honestly, for better or for worse, it's what you expect from one of those 2K Showcase modes if you've ever played one in the past. It's cool. It goes into a lot of depth with the actual career itself, but there are some matches that are just unnecessarily difficult because you have to go extremely out of your way to meet all of the required objectives, and it's not exactly a good thing, in my opinion. You're arbitrarily increasing difficulty just to have somebody go out of their way, and I could kind of go without that.
So Ryan, I before I ask you, just what are your overall thoughts on us talking about the game, knowing our worries? I want to bring up 2 examples of something that happened that really sold me on the game. First up, whenever you are near the corner, say somebody's about to perform a diving move. I was wrestling Finn Balor, right? And I was way too close. My first thought was, I need to move. My character actually got into position like a real wrestler would. He actually sort of tried to slowly roll conveniently so that Finn Balor could get the coup de grace and it wouldn't look awkward. You can still counter, but it's like everything works together so it looks really good on screen. And another situation was that I was playing a tag team match, and it was my created superstar, which is the main event, whatever.
Main, like a horse's mane.
Yeah, main. Amazing superstar. You got to get a chance to check him out.
So amazing, you remembered your own catchphrase.
He has like 5 nicknames, and they all happened today, so it's a little difficult. But we had a tag team match, right? So at one point, my tag team partner gets knocked out, and I'm playing as him. And I didn't even realize I was trying to actually crawl, because depending on how beat up you are, you will start crawling. So I'm crawling over to my tag partner to try to make the hot tag. No cutscene. I'm trying to do it, and Xavier Wood cuts me off. And I actually react like, I almost got him. And I realize, holy crap, they got me to react the same way they want people to react to a real wrestling match. And that sold me on the game so far. So Ryan, based on what we've been saying, you haven't touched a single second of the game yet, right?
Yeah, correct.
Does this ease your way into it? Does it concern you? How you feeling, man? How you feeling?
No, I'm feeling very positive about it, considering I was the only one out of the 3 of us who actually liked the gameplay of 2K15, and this sounds better than that. I think I'm going to be very happy about it. You know, the whole match pacing thing has always been a big concern, and it seems like they're really going in the right direction this year. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited about my career mode and how lengthy it is. And then, most importantly, it's all about our creation tools for Fight Night and what we can do with that. So that is my top priority when I do eventually get the game.
Yeah, so stay tuned. We'll be doing some online stuff. I mean, I already beat Ryan, and he's going to be singing, so who knows what's going to happen next time. So that's been it for our 2K16 coverage. If you guys want us to talk more about the game, aside from just sitting down and playing it, let us know. Maybe we can work on a square roundtable or something, but we want to know if you guys care about that and want to see that happen. So until then, let's, of course, get to your awesome questions. We have a ton happening this week, so Mr. Poshik, take it away.
A ton is a understatement, Juan. But if you want to send us a question, feel free to. Send it to our Twitter, ByteThatCast, our YouTube, ByteThatCast, our email, ByteThatCast@gmail.com, our Facebook, our Wrestling Amino.
Places.
Send it via pigeon. I don't even know if it'll get
here. What about a Pidgeotto?
If you have a Pidgeotto, it's Pidgeotto, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
Then, man, you've struck the gold mine. You should use HM4 and fly your question on over to us.
Thank you.
Much like Mr. Barney Johnson did, because he asks, do you prefer it when they have a pay-per-view every couple of weeks, or when they focus on the build-up and have it every month to 5 weeks, 6 weeks?
I like the every 5 to 6 weeks or so, if they do it right, but it seems like a lot of times they kind of just they'll just waste a couple of weeks just like farting around and doing nothing. But then when they have these close builds, sometimes they really force themselves to build things up. But in a vacuum, in a perfect world, the one every 5 weeks.
Yeah, Sam, I think it gives you a much better feel for a big match. Give me all the storyline, all the development that will make every punch after 5 weeks mean so much more. So I always prefer lengthier times between pay-per-views.
See, in a way, I disagree because I don't think it's about the amount of time. I think it's what they do with the time. Like, if they have another Raw of the quality of this week's Raw next week, and then Survivor Series happened immediately after it, I would be totally okay with it.
But does that happen?
Does that happen? No.
So there you go.
I guess so. All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. That's a good point. Welcome back to reality, Keith. Thank you for the question, Mr. Johnson. Our next one comes in from NKBE1324, who asks, do you think Alberto Del Rio will be a great asset to the WWE?
I think he's going to be, yes, a great asset in that he'll put on great matches, but kind of alluding to what Juan said earlier, you know, is he really going to find that connection with the WWE audience? I don't really think so. I think it's kind of going to be more of the same, and in a few months, we're all going to be sick of Del Rio, as much as I hate to admit it.
Yeah, I think when you talk about marketability, he appeals to a Hispanic audience, which is massive. The guy is a great talent in the ring. And in another scenario where I would say he got a character makeover, I'd be, yeah, man, new face. But this whole Seth Coulter thing, I'm not too sold. But long term, I think he is somebody that's important to have in the roster, even if I myself, I'm the one person here speaking out here, may not care about him too much.
Yeah, I think he will, long term, he will do good. Short term, I just hope he ends up dropping the U.S. title to whoever should have beat John Cena for that title. He ends up dropping the title to it and almost like inherently beats John Cena in a weird way. But yeah, I think in the long run, it'll be a great asset. And I mean, why not have Del Rio around? He's a good wrestler. If somebody could even pick up a thing or two from him in a good way, that's a benefit in its own way. So, Mr. NKBE, thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from J Gore Gaming. Ooh.
Gore.
Ah! Oh, that kind of gore, like Rhino gore.
Yeah,
I was
kinda.
thinking like horror Halloween. You know, it's
you can do 50-50.
yeah, either or. He asks, when do you guys think that The Undertaker will actually retire? I had a thought of way building this up. It'd be his last match. Also, how do you think it'll end?
If we had $1 for every time we've had this conversation, even outside of the podcast,
could
we would be
retire.
set. So I don't know. At this point, honestly, I'm not answering this. I'm choosing not to answer because it changes every time. It's
this
difficult.
year's WrestleMania. It's in Texas. Makes all the sense in the world. He's doing so much work right now. This is the Undertaker goodbye tour. Like, this is his final run, and that's why I think he's working so much. So
Absolutely.
WrestleMania, Dallas, Texas, Undertaker's last match. Against who? I don't know, but I think he's going to end it by losing.
I read a theory online that I am pretty sold on, where you know how they're celebrating the 25 years of Undertaker at Survivor Series? They're going to play it off like this is the Undertaker's last go around. That's his last match. And then right before he walks out, the lights go dark. You hear the "Ka! Ka!" And then Sting comes out and says, "Not before you have one with me." And then that leads to their final showdown at WrestleMania. That's what I think is going to happen.
Sting versus Undertaker in a walker match.
Yeah. The ring is surrounded by Ensure, Boost, all these.
It's like
old person
it's a
drinks.
bedpan match.
Yeah, it's a depends on a pole.
Get off my lawn on a pole match.
Indeed. So thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from USC Punk 88. Who asks, with Tyler Breeze's debut on SmackDown, I was thinking about how NXT heels are reacted to on the main roster. With Sasha getting cheers and Breeze getting really no reaction besides an NXT chant, do you guys think that this is because the good heels are cheered for so much in NXT that when they appear on the main roster, the crowd just doesn't know what to do? Follow-up question: is the mass exposure of NXT actually hurting the main roster when they debut rather than helping?
NXT is the cool place to be. As a fan, as a wrestler, it is my favorite show. I'll keep saying it every single week. So the issue is that whenever you have either a heel or face, doesn't matter what type of character, go to the main roster, I'm going to cheer that person regardless because I can recognize that person from the other show and think, yeah, man, that's awesome. You're moving on up. You know, good luck. So you can be the greatest heel, but when you make that transition, that gets lost, so it's like you almost have to start over, but then you lose what's just, you know, the past. I don't know. It sucks.
It's something that's happened forever, and I think it's just the same problem done in a different way. Like, think about the example that comes to mind is Flash Funk / Too Cold Scorpio from ECW back in the day. ECW was the cool place to go, and then once Flash Funk debuted, people would just chant ECW at Flash Funk the entire time. So I think it's the exact same thing these days, just that it all happens within the WWE, which makes it a little weirder in its own way. But yeah, it's the exact same.
Yeah, I don't think NXT is hurting the main roster in any way. NXT is just a huge asset to WWE, and them getting built up, whether face or heel in NXT, it builds excitement for when they actually debut on the main roster. And I think it's good that when these guys debut, that at least some of the crowd is actually familiar with these guys, and it kind of helps them gain a little bit of popularity. And of course, they do have to reestablish themselves when they get to the main roster. But it's cool that that there's a section of the crowd that is actually invested. So I think that's helped someone like Sasha Banks get over, because when one section of the crowd is into Sasha, the rest of the crowd's like, hey, maybe I should pay attention to this person. So whether they want to cheer her or boo her, it at least gets the rest of the audience engaged.
And here's something I just thought about Tyler Breeze that's good. In NXT, what do we always complain about? How come he's not champion? When is he going to become champion? Going to the main roster, he doesn't have that pressure of, you were champion at the other thing, and now you're coming down here feuding with Ziggler. Like with Sasha. Sasha had one of the best matches of the year. Twice, pretty much. And then you go to the main roster, and it's like you're that third tag team in the little corner over there. Tyler Breeze doesn't have that pressure. So if anything, we've been thinking about this all wrong, where, you know, if somebody drops the title, that means they're about to be called up. They should have the people that are in the championship scene stay there for a good while in NXT. And if they see a prospect or something, don't overexpose them in NXT, because then inevitably people are going to think like Sasha Banks, well, you already did this, so magically you're losing faster now? Why? So I think it's good.
That's a good point. I mean, that's a curious example of maybe they were experimenting with Breeze's run by saying, hey, what if we had this guy who's kind of like, you know, he seems like he's just kind of stuck in NXT, even though we have all our faith in this guy. We're just not making him look too good, so that expectations aren't high when he gets to the main roster, and he can exceed everyone's expectations. Versus someone like Bo Dallas, who was one of the longest reigning champions, and then fades into obscurity.
I was just about to bring that up, almost as a counterpoint to my own argument, where think about when Bo Dallas was champion and NXT was still on the up and up. It wasn't really this crazy thing that it is today. Bo Dallas went to the main roster and nobody really cared. It wasn't this NXT reaction. It was just zero reaction. And look where that got Bo. So I guess any reaction is a good reaction at the end of the day.
Yeah. Hey, if they chant NXT, the way I see it is, they are aware of that product. And with things like, we didn't even discuss this, WWE 2K16, right? The game, when you scroll down, the NXT guys are there. It's not like you have WWE and NXT in this corner. So right now you're
it's just
dealing
all
with,
like looped in.
Yeah. You go in there, one of the first people you see is Aiden English, Simon Gotch. Kalisto is a different example, but you're getting all of those exposed. So maybe they won't care if they move on to the main roster. I don't care when most people in NXT move up to the main roster because I like them in NXT. So that's not necessarily a good or bad thing, but exposure is happening now. I think WWE just has to figure out, what are you going to do with that? Don't overexpose it, or don't think, well, NXT is going to be a 2-hour show now, because that is the last thing I want.
Indeed. So thank you for the question, Mr. Punk. Our next one comes
we
in
kind of muddied up the direct answer, but it's some good discussion there.
I was happy with how that turned out. I'm going to give it a solid 10 out of 10. Would date again.
B+ players.
But our next question comes from, and I hope I'm saying this right. If I'm not, I apologize. Teague? Teague? C?
Teague Cott.
I'm going to go with C. Okay. We're going to go with C.
Or Teague. One of those two. Hi.
Indeed. Hi.
I'm going to say it's like League,
first of all,
but with a T. I don't know.
Teague. You know, if I've said it wrong, I've said it like 15 times wrong now, so I'm apologize. But
yeah, if we said it wrong, call us out on this. Call us out.
First of all, she says, love the podcast, and thank you very much for that. And she asks, how much longer do you think Seth Rollins will have the title, and who will take it from him?
I don't think he's going all the way to WrestleMania, because we're talking almost
I disagree,
an entire
Muggle.
year.
I think he's going to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
You both think it's WrestleMania? I said it
last week. Yeah, I said it last week, and I'll keep saying it. Shield triple threat, WrestleMania. Doesn't matter who's face or heel, Rollins is going to be champion until then, and he's going to lose it to Roman Reigns.
Wow.
Agreed.
I feel like they are not going to give it to him that long. You don't think Sheamus is just going to cash in at some point, have like a 1-month title reign or something? I don't know.
I think at this
or
point,
even just
Sheamus
like
cashes in.
I feel like TLC or Rumble is like a prime time for him to just lose it.
I think Sheamus cashes in post WrestleMania at this point. There's just too much good title picture stuff potentially blooming at the moment. Because right now we're kind of on a fresh slate with the whole title picture. So to like mix it up and throw Sheamus in there doesn't really make a lot of sense right now.
Yeah, and see, the deal right now is that at any point between now and WrestleMania, if he loses the title to Roman Reigns before then, we're going to get the same negative reaction. Until WrestleMania, it's going to sound weird. They can literally overexpose Rollins to Roman Reigns' benefit, to the point where people are going to be okay with Reigns being champion, whether they like it or not, because what else does Rollins have left? And at that point, I'm thinking WrestleMania, it's a mixed crowd. You're going to have your Dean Ambrose. And if people boo Reigns there, at least you had the lengthy title reign, and then Sheamus can just do something afterwards. I don't know.
You know, you just made me realize
expose
this.
a lot this podcast.
Well, yes, you did that too, but you just made me realize, what if Sheamus does cash in, and then Roman faces him for the title, and we're like, oh my god, please take the title off of Sheamus. And then we're all cheering for Roman.
That's a dark route, though. They can face a double negative that does not equal a positive. They got to be careful with that.
That is the absolute darkest timeline. Ugh. But thank you for the question. And our final question of the show comes in from Cam Clutch, who asks, if you could change one gimmick in the WWE today, whose gimmick would you change, and why would you change it? And what would you change about it?
Don't
Dolph
say
Ziggler.
it, Juan. Don't even... Oh, okay. Never mind.
See, I said Dolph Ziggler because I know you guys were thinking about Fandango's Johnny Curtis, which should happen. It was a great character.
Okay, enough.
I mean,
Go back. I shouldn't have said anything. I shouldn't have said anything.
But Dolph Ziggler.
Why?
To whatever except the 90s guy that's become overly annoying. Perfect example, where I watched Hell in a Cell, the person that owns the house, she is like the biggest fan of Dolph Ziggler. And I asked her straight up, what are your thoughts on him? Didn't care anymore. The person that had all the shirts, all of that, done. And that says something about the character. So change it. I don't care to what. Just Have something change, and not just 20 different wardrobe changes in a month. Exaggerated, but you get the point.
I would probably say that I would change Wade Barrett to be kind of more serious again. I would drop the whole King thing. It's really gotten stupid. They've dialed it back, which has been better. But I always feel like when they had those promos where he was like, they were really emphasizing the whole bare knuckle boxer type thing. They were really awesome. And I feel like they needed to emphasize him more as like a fighter type of gimmick. So that's what I would change.
For my answer, all you need is a time machine. Throw Rusev and Lana in it and go back a year. Because, man, did they have fire with that gimmick. It was so good, the whole anti-America thing.
But how long can that really last?
Up until the whole, even with the John Cena thing, I think it was at its hottest. Like, it was still doing great things, and he had, like, nuclear heat on Rusev and Lana, but then they just kind of pissed it all away, really. So if they were to go back in that direction, I think that's what I would change.
Yeah, I agree. I guess my closing thought there is that with all of these anti-American characters, the focus is always, America, you're bad. Why isn't there a character is that it's not about you being bad. We are simply better over here. And here's why. Because we rarely get to that point. Here's why this place is better than the other one, other than just say, the Lakers suck. Boo. Why? Point that out a little bit more. I think that can go a long way. So thanks to everybody for the questions. The hype train is coming in. Ryan's got a hoodie on. Ryan, just do it. Do it. Do it.
All right. Just it's time to close the show, guys. It was such a grand old time.
Or don't get a DUI. Or get arrested for.
Just do it.
Don't get arrested for being intoxicated. Okay,
don't
what?
let your shows be shows or whatever.
So that's kind of weird.
Go
on, Ryan.
All right. Well, we want to thank everyone for tuning into another great edition of the Byte That podcast. It was a grand old time. Thank you for letting us into our homes. No, into your homes.
Thank you. Thank you for letting us in our homes.
Thank you for letting us into our homes.
Thank you.
We were a little behind on rent, but this podcast helped us get back in there. We now have homes again. But thank you guys for listening. As always, go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ByteThatCast, where there is already WWE 2K16 coverage up there. You can watch Juan play as a horse and beat people up in a video game that just came out, and it's awesome. So you need to go and watch that. Of course, streaming 2K16 content, twitch.tv/ByteThat. Do you guys know when you're streaming again?
In like an hour.
Okay. Well,
yeah, we're streaming right after the podcast.
If you're listening to this
more,
just recently as it's been uploaded, then Tuesday night there should be more streams. But if you go over to twitch.tv/ByteThat and hit the follow button,
we'll be streaming.
You're gonna get
most
a notification.
Of the week. You'll find out
exactly. You'll get a notification whenever that is, so just stay tuned for that. And of course, look at our Twitter for notifications, which is @ByteThatCast. And of course, our other stuff you can find at ByteThat.com. I'm not going to go through them all today. You guys know the drill. Don't forget to check out Fight Night as well. And I will try and have a wrestling discussion video up this week. I'm actually thinking about talking about this new intriguing angle with Bray Wyatt and The Undertaker, because we didn't really get to touch on it in the podcast. So maybe I'll do a thing about that, because we've had a lot of video game content. So let's get some wrestling discussion up there as well to supplement this wonderful thing known as the Byte That podcast. So thank you guys for listening. We will see you next week.
I just got to point out, I'm just thankful they let us into our homes. I'm so happy about that.
I know.
Thank you.